I am Sarah Weiss of Passion and Pickleball. Welcome to the Spanglish World Networks on Zingo TV, channels 249, 250, and 251. You can download the Zingo TV app on iOS and Android app stores. Don't forget to rate and leave a comment. This app is free and is also available on Google Chromecast, Amazon Fire, Fire TV sticks, Roku, and Roku sticks, as well as all smart TVs 2016 and on. So I am here and I have a head cold. Please don't mind me. I probably sound stuffed up, but the show must go on. So today, instead of doing a big opening segment talking about mindset and psychology and stuff like that, what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you our very first Ernie box that got sent out this month. Everyone finally received their very first box. This, for those of you who might be new to the show, is a pickleball subscription box where we put all kinds of incredible curated pickleball goodies together in one box for you to receive. And the perfect timing right before Christmas, but I will say, I think this is better than Christmas. So let's open it up and give you a little peek on what's inside. So obviously, in the theme of Christmas, we wrapped it well. And pickleball players, I gotta say, we were just talking actually, and we kind of compare pickleball to sort of a cult. When people get addicted to the sport, it is all-consuming. You get involved and you want to play every single day, and you want to buy all the things pickleball, all the things. And there's all kinds of things. So let's see if I can get a good angle here. I'm going to give you an angle from here. I'm going to actually move my camera. I'm going to show you what this looks like from up here. Anyone know who that is? Annalie Waters. When I first started playing 2.5 years ago, she was 14 years old, and she was the top female pro at that time. Now she's 16, still top female pro, going undefeated all year. She was undefeated all year. Gold medalist everywhere she went. So, number one at the top of the box, we have a custom Ernie hat. And this is our little Ernie guy. He is the star of the Ernie box. So you get the Ernie hat. We've got lead tabs by Poach. For those of you who know how to use them and put them around your paddle, it can open up your sweet spot. It can add power. It can add stability. So you definitely want to learn how to use lead tabs. Now, the Annalie Waters you saw there, she is sponsored by the company Lock Laces, which are these. So in your first box, you would get a pair of lock laces, which you put on your shoes. And they're kind of elasticy, so you don't have to tie your shoes up. They actually just kind of grip on, and they're elasticy. So you would also get a discount code if you wanted more. Let's see what else there is. We all know Selkirk, right? Well, they created this thing called the Tacky Grip Towel. So you wipe your hand with it, and it just makes your hand a little bit tacky. But it's not like super sticky. So we've tried this out, and you can put it on gloves, you can put it on hands, and it doesn't leave like a residue. So really, really nice and convenient. And of course, we go through these like crazy, but we got core balls for the first box. Really good balls. We've been playing with them for the past month or so, and we're really happy. We're really happy with that. Apparently, my settings are mirrored, so let me quickly change the mirror settings like so. There we go. Oh, I look so different. That's so funny. Okay. Thank you. The producer just hopped and said, change the mirror settings. All right. We also got an awesome pair of athletic socks by Outweigh. These are very useful because, we're on our feet the whole day. You want a good pair? Now this, I'm really happy with these. So if you play any kind of sport, you're going to need electrolytes. You want to make sure that you're well hydrated. This is LMNT. And your box is going to come with, I think it's 6 of these LMNT packets. So it's hydration, electrolytes. It's like a salt that goes into your system. It's got potassium and magnesium, sodium, tasty, which is very important. Very good, very effective. We've got 6 of these tacky diadem over grips, which you put over the handle to make it nice and fresh, nice and tacky. One of my sponsors, Pickled Out, does custom edge tapes. So you can see right here. There, this one's turtles. This one's a galaxy nebula kind of looking one. And this one's by Pickleball Depot. So you get 3 of those. And then the 2 big ticket items, we've got a Slam Master right here. So this is a training utility paddle that has a ball attached. So if you're all alone on the court, you can still train like a pro. And then the biggest ticket item right here, a Poach M3 paddle in a really lovely case. I really like what they did here. Look at these little zippers. Looks like a paddle or a racket. And here it is. Look at this fancy paddle. It's got special technology. So if you look at it one way, you can see the carbon weave. And you look at it another way, you can see the 3D grit. So it is a carbon fiber weave with a 3D grit. It's edgeless, it's thermoformed, and this thing is a mean paddle. So high power, but it doesn't without sacrificing too much control. And it's got tons of spin. So great paddle. So for 1 box, you get tons of goodies. And with that, I'm going to mention that we have an awesome guest today. And we have another one coming up next week who you're not going to want to miss. He is actually a university professor. He's a psychologist, a sexologist, and a theologian. And we're going to talk a little bit about transgenders in sports. So this is going to be a hot topic, and I know a lot of you are going to come on here. And as you know, some of you who watch, we do have live questions pop up. We're going to open this up, and we're going to allow people to ask questions. Bring on the controversy. Bring on the heat. Do what you got to do. I know there's a lot of different opinions out there on allowing transgender women to play in female sports or female events. So you're not going to want to miss this. He is in over 70 publications and has been in 14 documentaries. The guy knows what he's talking about. He is a doctor and he's a minister. So he's someone who is in the Catholic faith and talks about sex, gender, orientation as a psychologist and sexologist. So someone you're not going to want to miss. But with that, let's bring in our guest, Brock Coutts, the owner of Top Spin Pickleball Club. Brock, hello. How are you?
Yourself?
Good to have you.
Good to be here.
You know, this blowing up so quickly, and I'm starting to meet all kinds of different facility owners and operators. So it's really good to have you here because your club has been just growing and expanding and getting everyone addicted to pickleball, which is amazing. So the first question I always ask everybody is why? Why pickleball? Why did you get started?
Well, one of my business partners went to Maui about 2 years ago, maybe 1.5 years ago now, and him and his wife made a pact to do something active every day before they went to the beach and then out for dinner. The complex they were staying at converted the tennis courts to pickleball courts. So they met another couple and they ended up playing 12 of the 14 days. And fell in love with it themselves. And then they brought it back here and we would rent out a local school and we'd have to tape all the lines on the floor and build the net every week. And it started from 4 guys and then up to 8, 12, 16, just kind of spiraled out of control there. And one of the guys that came out knew about this warehouse that was for rent. And we went and looked at it and we could fit a couple courts in there and a nice lounge. And the rest is history. We just keep playing pickleball.
It's funny how fast it grows. Like I've been only playing for 2.5 years. And when I started 2.5 years ago, it was still kind of obscure. It wasn't really well known. Most of my friends didn't know what it was. I didn't know what it was. And now pretty much everyone knows what it is and is getting sucked into the vortex of pickleball.
Yep, 100%.
Why would you recommend it to people?
I just think it's great for anyone and everyone to play. I got my daughters into it. I got my parents into it. So like all wide ranges of ages can play and anyone can really be competitive. Like you see younger people playing against older people and they're having a good game and it's just kind of fun for everyone. And it's getting active, staying fit, using your mind and thinking. And it's just a lot of benefits I feel like in the game.
You don't see many sports where a mom and a daughter, or a dad and son, or dad and daughter team up in a tournament in a competitive way and battle for gold. We were just talking about Annalie Waters. She played with her mom, and they were a top team to be messed with in the female division for so long. It's really, really cool. And I got my 2 daughters as well, a 9 and a 10-year-old, and I can't wait to play with them. I'm really excited for that. How old are you?
9 and 13. So they're both
And how are they
Good. They're
liking
getting
it?
really good, much better. Every week. It's amazing how kids, we did a lot of kids camps in the summer. We have a kids program on Fridays that runs, and like some of these kids come in and they've never played before, and you get a paddle in their hand, and in like 20 minutes they're like starting to get decent, and then like they come back the next week and they're like good. It's amazing the curve. Yeah, this grows so quickly.
Yeah, you see these juniors when you go. So if you start like traveling and going to tournaments across the US where, they're bigger and more prestigious tournaments, and you see like the junior category and the 19 plus, these kids aren't messing around. Like you see this kid who's like 5 foot nothing pick up a paddle. The paddle's almost as big as their torso, and they're swinging it like a ninja. It's amazing. And when I started again 2.5 years ago, it was kind of known as a senior citizen sport. It was for retirees to go and hit a ball around. But when you go and you see this 19 plus category, the newer kids coming into this sport are making it a very fast, strong. You got to be good on your feet. This is an intense looking sport when you start to go into the younger categories now, which is pretty exciting. What level do you play at, bro?
Probably 3.5 now.
3.5, and you've been playing for
just over a year. Yeah, maybe a year and a half now. So the whole idea was when we built the club that we get to play all the time. That was kind of like the dream, but a lot of other things are coming in the way, so we don't get to play as much as we'd like, but hopefully moving forward, we'll get to continue playing more and more. So I just love playing it, and I've always grown up in a sports background, so I have that competitiveness in me, and I don't like how I'm not really good yet. Like I just keep wanting to get better every week. I just want to get better. And then like you play someone that is better than you, and it kind of humbles you, and you're like, huh, maybe I'm not getting as good as I thought I was. All right, gotta keep working. We're drilling again. Keep practicing. Keep practicing.
Yep. We need that humbling every once in a while, don't we?
Well, the first time when we were playing out of the gym, we went to a local gym as well, me and another friend, and we were like, we just want to play more. We want to play more. So we went, and it was like 2 PM, and we thought, okay, it'll be fun. And then we got there, and like everyone was 75 years old. So we're kind of thinking like, oh, we'll have to go easy. And like we got dominated every game by everyone. So I was like, oh, we're not very good.
But that's what makes it so addictive too, right? Like when I first started, I was getting my butt beat by the Barbaras and the Sues and the Larrys who are in their 60s, 70s, and 80s. And I'm this, young gun at 33. Like, no way these people will beat me. And not only did they beat me, they beat me bad.
Running all over the court and everything, and no strategy, no technique, and they're just killing you. Yeah.
Yep. So, I mean, as soon as that happens, I'm like, that's not happening again. I got to figure out what I'm doing out here. So. Yeah, that's good. So as the owner of Topspin Pickleball, what kind of people do you see coming in? This is one of my favorite things about it, but you must see a huge diversity of people coming into your club.
Yeah, huge diversity. A lot of younger people and a lot of people that have never played before that want to get into the game. So a lot of like 20, 30, 40-year-olds that maybe come from a paddle or a racket background and are familiar with it, or a lot of high-level players. We have some pros playing out of there. There's a lot of good local talent in the Fraser Valley area here in BC. So a lot of them play out of there. But then at the same time, we have a lot of people. We do free introductory clinics to get people into the game. So we have a lot of people that just come in and they don't have a paddle. They don't know where to start. They don't know what the rules are. So we give them crash courses in that sense, get them on the courts, get them playing games, teach them the basics, and then it kind of goes from there. So it's a very wide range of people, like young kids right up to seniors, really.
Awesome. And what do you think it is that keeps them coming back to Topspin?
I think, well, in our facility anyways, like it's just a premium facility. We got really nice floors. We got a nice lounge, a nice area for people to hang out. And you could play at the park for free, but in an indoor setting like this, like you can book your time. So people really value that sometimes, in the sense that they know if they book from 9 to 11, they show up at 8:45 and get on the court at 9, and then they get off at 11. Like there's no waiting like at the park or anything like that. And just that bring your own group type of thing and play in that type of setting. people really enjoy playing with like their group, like open play and social stuff. We have groups and stuff like that we do run, and that's fine. And it's great to meet other people. And it's a lot of those groups transition into their own private groups from there. So they'll come and they'll meet people at ladies' night. And then they're like, oh, I like playing on Thursdays. And then a group of them will start playing on Thursdays as well, or they'll start their own group kind of thing. So just making friends and like meeting people in that sense too. It's super easy, and there's lots of different abilities and ages. Lots of people can blend and mix together and make a great group. So
Nice. What kind of activities and like group nights? You said you had ladies' night. That sounds awesome. What other kind of things
so
do you have going on?
we do a ladies' night, we do a men's night, and then we have a kids club as well. And hopefully in the new year, we're going to start like a couples night, or like a mixed night at least, in that sense. And then a lot of the other stuff is we're doing like mini tournaments and stuff like that. Our facility is smaller, so we can't handle huge tournaments, but we have a lot of like smaller private tournaments, which are centered and targeted for like a specific playing level in that sense. So they come in and they usually play all day. We've actually been doing a lot of MLP format tournaments lately, and gaining a lot of traction with the community for that. They were having a lot of fun. When you're on a team atmosphere like that, you might not be playing all the time, but at least you're kind of like cheering your team on, your other players on. And there's a lot of strategy in that, where you're mixing up matchups and stuff and trying to figure out like, should we play our best team or should we play our weaker team here? And how do we want this to unfold in the whole scheme of it? So it's been really good in that sense. Awesome. And then starting some leagues in the new year as well.
Good. And for those of you watching who don't know what MLP is, that's a Major League Pickleball, where it's more of a team concept where you put a group of people together. So it's not just a mixed doubles or a gender doubles. It's actually a whole group of people. Depending on the size, it could be anywhere from 4 people to 6 to 8 people. And like, Brock was saying, you can mix up the teams and you could choose which 2 go out. Sometimes you need to do a tiebreaker, or an MLP, they call it a dream breaker. Is there any other details about that style that you might have tweaked or made your own?
No, not so much. We do, like, we've done events with all males, and we've done mixed events, and we got an all-female event going to come up. We're going to do that. So same MLP style, but just like mixing genders with themselves, genders mixed up. And then for the Dream Breaker, sometimes we do singles and sometimes we do doubles instead. Singles, not everyone's familiar with singles as much. So that was a bit of a learning curve sometimes. So sometimes we do doubles as well. So just kind of put our own spin on it and see what people like. But yeah, it's a lot of fun. People cheering on, like the atmosphere in there is really, really fun. Just it's like that real team atmosphere going on. Everyone's cheering for their team, and it's good.
It's very different. I've done one team event, and the vibe and the atmosphere is way different than when it's you and your partner going up against a bunch of, 2-person teams. You don't really, sometimes you'll have a cheering section. If some people know you, they'll cheer you on. I can be somewhat exciting and crazy on the court. I don't come from sports, so my style is very awkward and weird, but it works. So I do sometimes get a bit of a cheering section, but when it's team-based, and you have your team behind you and you've got their team behind them, and it becomes like the crowd versus the crowd. It's really, really neat. Super, super fun. So I'm glad you started to do that. I personally love the team-based concept. It's super, super fun. You said you come from other sports in your background. What sports?
So I play golf still. And then living out west, I got into mountain biking and snowboarding. I grew up playing hockey and baseball. Pretty much any sport I'll play, or at least try to watch every sport as well. So I just love sports. And then picking up pickleball, it was just one of those things that fell in love with right away and wanted to keep playing, and wasn't very good. So I just wanted to get better.
Nice. What kind of advice as an athlete, as a longtime athlete and sport lover, what kind of advice would you have for someone who's, say, brand new to pickleball, maybe even brand new to sports coming into this?
Just stick with it. Stay optimistic. Practice. The only way you're going to get better is if you practice and really kind of dedicate some time to it anyways, but just stay optimistic and keep working at it. And I think competition and and sports like really are good in the sense that it kind of gives you an identity of who you are and it shows you who you are. So if you're playing a sport, especially like pickleball, against another team, like you got to rely on your partner to pick up their weight, and you at the same time you got to pick up your weight. So you guys are working as a team, and just important in that sense to kind of rely on someone and having someone else rely on you.
Teamwork. That's a tough one for some
Yeah.
people. Yes, and that the pressure to be a good teammate can be crippling to some. I know that I've, especially in the beginning when I started to play and I would play with someone better than me, I put a lot of pressure on myself to perform because I didn't want to let my partner down. So it's interesting to learn these aspects. And if you've played any of the bigger team sports, obviously you have less of a load. But when you're talking, when it's you and one person, you're basically 50% until they start aiming directly at you every single shot. When you're the worst player of the two, you got a lot of weight you got to carry. So practice. If you're going to be competitive, you said practice. And I know a lot of people, all they do and all they care about is games. And I get it, because games are really, really fun. That's why we play. But geez, drilling, what is your thoughts on the importance of drilling?
It's just so important. Like a lot of the higher level people that play at the club are drilling all the time. They'll rent the courts and they'll come out and like they don't even play a game. They'll maybe play a game at the end or whatever, but they drill for the majority of the time that they're there and just working on different shots. And then it's just very important. If you just play games all the time, I feel like you're kind of in the moment and you're maybe rushing and your technique's not the best. You're kind of in survival mode. Whereas when you start drilling and really dedicating time to practice, then those things come out when you're playing and they're all better because you have practiced them and drilled with them and done that stuff. So
yeah, repetition. And not only repetition, but like learning how to do it properly. Like when you hire a good coach or instructor, you find out the little nuances that make the big difference between, the 3-0s, the 3-5s, the 4-0s, the 4-5s, and the pros and stuff. And it's usually little nuances. But if you practice the wrong thing over and over, you're going to, it's nice to practice, nice to drill. But if you're practicing the wrong thing, you're developing habits that aren't going to serve you, especially at the higher levels. And for those watching who might feel like, I've plateaued and I don't know why. I drill all the time and I practice and I play games all the time, but I'm still not being able to crack that 3-5, 4-0, 4-5. It's likely because you're practicing not necessarily the wrong thing, but there's a better thing or better way or better form, better tactic, better technique that you could be practicing. So I personally am huge on hiring the right coaches. I got to train with Sarah Ansbury, who's one of the top female pros in the world, and her tactics and technique and the way she instructs is impeccable. When you learn from someone like that, and then you get back onto the court and you start doing the drills and doing the work, putting in the work that someone at a high level instructs you on, now you're starting to perfect your game and to master the game so that you can get past that plateau, right? So what would you say is one of the hardest things about pickleball?
Hardest thing about pickleball is probably just like keeping your composure and your patience. Like when you get to the net and something looks like it might be attackable, and then you realize maybe it's not attackable. Maybe I just need to wait like a little bit more. Patience. It'll come to me when it's ready. That probably the hardest thing for me anyways is just wait, because you get up there and you get all anxious and you start gripping the paddle tight and it's just recipe for disaster right from there. So stay patient, be ready. Take your chance when you get it.
Yeah. I like that, being loose. I like to compare it. It's like the comparison of a club, like a rigid club, to a whip. Which one can break the sound barrier?
Yeah.
The whip can, the club can't. We get all tight and rigid and stuff. You're not going to do very much damage. But as a whip, when you're loose and you're relaxed, you can break that sound barrier. That's my favorite comparison that I like to teach people. And what would you say would be the easiest thing about pickleball?
The easiest thing about pickleball. That's a good one. I don't know. Just the fun of it, I guess, is the ease of it in that sense. Like, even if you lose, it sucks. But usually I still had fun. So that part I like.
Yeah. It really is. It's got people coming back every single day. There's people you see at the courts, like every time you go, they're there. It's like, do you even go
Yeah,
home?
I know.
What do you tell ambitious players that are coming into your club? Like when someone's there and you want to feed their fire, what are some things you do for them or tell them?
Well, in that sense, we have like a group of instructors that work out of our club. So a group of like higher level young guys. We have a head instructor. So Heart Attack Pickleball, he's our head instructor out of our club. And then we just kind of line people up with like-minded people. So people come in sometimes and they've been playing with their group of friends and they're the best of their group of friends. So they feel like they're pretty good at pickleball. But then it's just lining people up in the right groups, I think, to bring their game up. So it's playing against those people that are a little bit better than you and elevating your game in that sense. Just kind of matchmaking almost is what it is, really, like finding those using our instructors that we have and then getting them to bring people that are ambitious and trying to get to that next level, and then getting them to match up with their groups, and then they'll drop in and play with that group and then realize maybe I am as good as I thought or maybe I'm not as good as I thought, and kind of go from there in that sense anyways. But it's always interesting in that sense, because sometimes when you just play with your friends, again, it's a lot of fun, but then if you're ambitious and you want to get better, you need to also play against better people to try to elevate your game in that sense. So that's a big one, the matchmaking, I'd say, for sure.
Pickleball matchmaking.
Yeah.
I like that. That's pretty important, and I totally agree. You know, it's hard to advance your skills when you're playing someone that makes you feel good because you're winning.
Yeah.
It's nice to win and it feels good to win, but that's not going to improve your game. So I encourage people to go out there and lose. When you're losing, when you're getting humbled by someone way better than you or a group that's way better than you, you're in the right group. Hopefully you're in a group that's okay with, you know, players being weaker than them. Some players are very adamant about only playing with their skill level, and if you're not as good as them, you're out. That's not your group. Find your group that, because like for me, the reason why I was able to elevate was I did find a group that was much better than me, and they pulled me in. They let me play there, and I had my butt handed to me every week until I started moving up. They would play the King's Court. For those of you who don't know what King's Court is if you win, you move up. If you lose, you move down. So I was always on the bottom court for at least 2 months. And then eventually I started winning the odd game, and it was kind of cool. I'd win, I'd be super, super psyched. Then it was like I started making it to King's Court, and then I started staying on King's Court. So that's when you really know it's like, okay, cool. You know, you've grown into your spot. Now you can move on, maybe find a more advanced, more ambitious group, and do the same thing over and over. Go back to the bottom of the rung, which again is very humbling, especially if you felt really good. You know, I'm at the top, I'm King's Court all of a sudden, and then you go down, and now you're at the bottom of the court again. Swallow your pride, put the ego away. This is how you get better. Go out there and lose a bunch. Lose to really good players, and it's going to help you grow. So I really, really like that. What do you think it takes to be a champion, to be a winner, you know, as someone who comes from an athletic background? What does it take?
Just putting in the time and the effort, and really just like it's all about pickleball, but there's lots of other elements too, like nutrition and the way you act when you're not playing pickleball, like just taking care of yourself, like staying fit, staying active, staying loose. There's just, pickleball is like a big thing, but I think like with any sport, there's so many other elements as well. If you're getting injured all the time, or if you're not conditioned, when you start getting tired, I know for me, for sure, is when you start getting tired, your decision making is not always what it was at the start of the match. So when you get more reps and more time in these games, and they last longer, and you have to make big decisions, or it's really tight, that's when you're going to elevate your game in that sense. If you've practiced and you've put in the time leading up to it, for sure. And a lot of those tournaments too, like we went and visited a lot of tournaments this summer because we had a lot of guys in our club playing in a lot of tournaments. We go out and support them, and just getting in the pickleball community in that sense, meeting everyone. And those tournaments are well run, but they're not always on time. So like you might be playing a game at 1 o'clock, or that's what it says on the paper scheduled, right? But you don't play that game until about 2:30. So just the way things go throughout that day, mentally, you have to be tough to realize, like, okay, I'm not playing right now. Do I want to go eat lunch? Probably not a great idea. So maybe you have a snack and you're kind of waiting time and you're kind of staying fresh and loose. And because who knows who you're going to play? Maybe that group that you got to play next is coming off a game and they're in the back draw or whatever, right? Like, so you don't just staying mentally tough is a huge thing, I think, in any sport, especially pickleball.
Mental toughness. Yep. Mindfulness and mental toughness is a big one. That's what's going to keep you going, keep you fighting and battling through the adversity and, those late starting tournaments. Yeah. I can't tell you how many people I've heard over the past 2 years complain about the start time of their games.
Yeah.
So what do you do when you're not playing pickleball? You said, what you do outside of, the courts is important. What are some of the things that you do to keep you, mentally tough and nutrified? And obviously you run top spin as well. Yeah. So you've got that, you've got playing. What are some of the things that you do? What's part of your routine?
I'm big into fishing. I enjoy fishing, going out in the ocean, going fishing, kind of in the middle of nowhere. No one can get a hold of you. It's really nice, peaceful in that sense. And then living on the West Coast, lots of hiking and stuff like that, mountain biking, some great golf courses around here. So I enjoy getting out and golfing, just staying active and everything like that, like going for bike rides. And then having 2 young ones, just always keeping me busy doing that type of thing, right? We're always getting out, going to the river and hanging out, really anything. So just like staying active, like doing stuff, enjoy the outdoors a lot. So, and then, yeah, top spin has been keeping us busy, but it's been good. It's been a fun busy, at least, that's for sure.
Good. You sound like a man of the land. Yeah. Sounds like you get to get out there and ground yourself. I am a huge believer in grounding, being outside and stuff like that. As someone who is a man of the land, why would you recommend that to someone, to be outside, to go on the water, to go for hikes, to be out in the fresh air? What are some of the benefits that you get out of that?
Well, I know for me specifically, with doing the business and everything, getting started and running the club, like you spend a lot of time on your phone, whether it's like social media or answering emails or just like responding to messages. So there's certain times when you just kind of have to turn it off and go out on the ocean and go fishing. And there's really no one that can actually even get a hold of you. So gives you a couple days of grace and peacefulness. And I just think it's important to disconnect for a little bit and then you come back fresher when you come back. So I think that's good.
Are you saying social media isn't peaceful?
I think it's a lot of work. It's a lot of time consuming. Just staying on top of everything. I'm a person that when someone sends a message, I like to try to respond as soon as possible. And if you don't respond to those messages and they just start adding up, it's not like they slow down. So when you do take that break, if you don't take a break, then there's always something to do and you're always on something and you're always trying to figure something out. Whereas I find when I go out and I go fishing, then it's like there's not much you can do. You can try to think about things in your head, but even then it just kind of goes out the window because you're focusing on so many other things. So you come back and then you deal with it then. But for those couple days or whatever, at least you're gone. No one can get a hold of you. You can't get a hold of anyone. So it is.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. It's nice to disconnect and not have to be at everyone's beck and call. It's interesting, back in the day, people couldn't just get a hold of you out of nowhere, out of thin air, and just be like, "Hey, can I have your attention?" If you were out of the house, cell phones and stuff, you're off in the mist. No one's getting a hold of you, and I think that's a lost, almost an art now at this point. It is an art to be able to turn your phone off and to disconnect completely. I mean, I even get those times because I'm on social media. It's kind of where I've built my life, empire, whatever you want to call it. When my phone is off, which I have to do sometimes to get this disconnect, sometimes I feel like the call back to turn it on. We got to connect with people. You got to do this stuff. And it's nice to be away from that for a little bit. Sometimes I just want to go find my own private island and just hide. And there's nothing wrong with that. It's not even an antisocial tendency or anything. It's just a way of kind of reconnecting with yourself, right? And I would assume that when you're on the water and you're fishing or you're hiking in the mountains, you're kind of just connecting with yourself there, and you get to feel your feelings. As much as I don't know how much you're into feeling your feelings, I like to feel sometimes and not have to be pulled in directions. But that's really good, and I like that as a piece of advice for players to find time to disconnect, find time to find your peace and your zen, and do some yoga, go outside barefoot. Even like I like to go barefoot and just kind of feel the earth on my feet, and I really love that stuff. So thank you for sharing a little bit about yourself. What's the future of Topspin look like?
It's good. We're getting busier and busier every week with the free introductory clinics. Like, we are just introducing so many different people to the game. So there's so many people that are interested, but they just don't know where to go. They don't know how to start. They don't have a paddle. Getting them in, and then it's really great because we get people in, and then I'll come back the next week and I'll see them again playing, and they're introducing their friends to it. So it's like that spiraling effect where people just want to teach other people and they enjoy it, so they want to get their friends into it. Just continue to do what we're doing. I think it seems to be working so far, and having a lot of fun with it. We do a lot of private events and corporate events, so those have been a lot of fun too, because when we bring those groups in, you can teach a wide range, like a large group in a small amount of time. So we had a lot of Christmas parties coming up here where you'd have 20 or 30 people come in from a business, and it'd be a wide range of athletic abilities, just a whole different crew of people. And we kind of mix match them up or get the boss to match them up. And then by the end of it, you can't get them off the court anyways. They all want to keep playing, and just teaching the game to that many different people. And then people just love the whole like social aspect of it and learning something new. And I think being fit or like physical in that sense is a huge benefit for it as well, right? It's a smaller court, and people think like, oh, it's a lot easier than tennis. But then when you actually get moving and you're doing all those quick movements, it's like, oh, it is pretty hard still. Like, I am burning a lot of calories. I am not just standing there.
Yeah, and it's still low impact. It's not as hard on the body as, say, like tennis or basketball, jumping up and down and stuff. But yeah, you get the cardio, you get some movement, you get the flexibility. One person had to wear a helmet for their second time ever playing because the first time he played, he kind of fell into a wall. So he brought a helmet for the next one. It was more as a joke, but that was his determination to play this sport. So
I love it. Yeah.
That's awesome. Do you plan to expand Topspin, or do you want to just keep it more simple with with having the one?
The option's always there. We'll just kind of see how it all plays out. So far, it's been like getting really busy, and the courts are full a lot of the time, so it's really good in that sense. But just keep our options open and see what it brings. The whole reason we started was because we love pickleball and we wanted to play more, and we didn't want to have to tape the lines on the gym floor anymore. So that's how it started, and it's kind of blossomed into something that's really awesome and really fun to see. And we enjoy, like I said, bringing new people in, and then I really enjoy hanging out at the club, watching really high-level people play, and everything in between. So it's been a lot of fun on this ride so far, and I just want to keep it going. Like, it's been good.
Good. I'm happy to hear that. We love good clubs. There's something about when you go to a good club where there's a good atmosphere and it's well run, it just makes you want to go back. And it's not just because of pickleball, because there's pickleball everywhere now. It seems to be popping up all over the place. But especially in the winter, when you find a good club with good people, it's really nice to go back there and be in that good atmosphere. I see Ernie commented, we had him on as a guest. He says, should kids wear eye protection? I'll ask that to you, Brock. Should kids wear eye protection?
Anyone should wear eye protection. The
agree.
Pickleball BC president of BC Pickleball, I guess would be the way you say it, Walter Knight, he's got a saying at the end of his emails that always say, safety glasses are no good in your bag. And I would advocate 100% for them. There's just, as the game gets faster, people get stronger. You take your eye off the ball for 1 second. No one wants to get an eye injury. So I think no matter what age you are, you should wear eye protection. Totally for it.
Yep. Agreed. How can you play more pickleball if you can't see?
Exactly.
So,
Exactly.
yeah, I hear you. I hear you. So, as the owner of Topspin, I'm assuming that you have brands that you prefer, maybe that you work with, maybe sponsorships or partnerships. What are some of the brands that you like or that you share with people?
Well, we started with Selkirk. So Selkirk's our big one that we have in house. We have a lot of Selkirk gear in that sense, and then some of the local brands as well. Poach, we're getting some stuff come in shortly here. Anivia is another one that is in house because it's a local brand. Charles Neufeld's around quite often playing as well, so we got some Alpha stuff on the shelves as well, and those are like kind of the main ones we have right now anyways, but growing every day for sure, checking out new products, new paddles. There's just so many different things out there, and I really think pickleball is just at the start of the surface. It's like if it's in a big iceberg, we're like right at the top. There's so much underneath and so much more exploring to do still. So
it's a fun place to be an entrepreneur, and obviously you're an entrepreneur. I love this space as an entrepreneur myself. A lot of people play this sport and it's like, they want to play it all day, every day. So what do you recommend to someone who's like, they're playing, they're going all of a sudden, like, how can I make this like a full-time thing? How can I, spend my life in the world of pickleball? What are some of the things you would advise?
Well, I'd say it goes back to practice and drilling, just like practice, drill, really hone in on your craft, and then play in tournaments and get noticed. And like when you're getting noticed and you're making an impression and making it to the podium, like people want you to wear their shirts or rock their paddles or wear their hats or anything like that, right? So in order for you to stay in the game in that sense, if that's what you want to do, make it your full-time thing, make sure you're good and like really hone it in that sense. A lot of those high level younger instructors we have, like go to school, they're students or they're just starting out like in their careers. So they have extra time and then they give lessons on the side to supplement their income in that sense. So if you can be someone that's good at giving instructions and you come from somewhat of a credible background and you're able to explain stuff well and teach people, then I think teaching's a great avenue as well.
I would agree. It's very fulfilling as well to help people get addicted to the sport, get caught by the bug, and then to watch them grow. It's really neat when you teach a beginner and then maybe after 5, 6, 7 lessons or whatever, you don't see them for a little while. And then all of a sudden you see them and they're a brand new player. They're in the intermediate, they're becoming advanced. And it's just a very fulfilling feeling knowing that, they got their start with you, or maybe they're continuing their education and instruction with you.
And like you said earlier too, different instructors have different ways of explaining things or going over different techniques. So like with the different instructors in our club, I've had different instruction and like some of it sticks, some of it doesn't, but there's always that, like those things that you do pick up on different people explaining different things in different ways. And you're like, oh, that makes sense. Maybe they refer to something else and you're like, oh, okay, now I get that. So having different instructors, I think, is really good in that sense too, because people pick up on different explanations and philosophies.
Yeah, some people are more visual or audio learners. Some are more kinesthetic and go through feeling and stuff. So yeah, I'm a big proponent on hiring different coaches. When I first started, I hired every available coach in Ottawa, and each one of them had their strengths and what they were teaching me. And I learned and picked up something different from each of them that all added to my game. So I'm big on that. That's really cool. So, Brock, what would you say is one of your biggest accomplishments in the pickleball space, whether it's as a player or as an entrepreneur?
Well, as an entrepreneur, I'd say is just we did all the renovation work ourselves and we kind of built the club in that sense. So that was pretty prideful there, doing all that work and doing that. And then just seeing it blossom from what it has been. Like when we first built it and opened the doors, like literally no one had heard of us, so no one's coming. And then just building it up where it becomes busier and busier every week. And I had a group of ladies in this morning, like 16 ladies this morning, and they're just like, they live in Abbotsford and they play pickleball 3 times a week. And they're like, we'd heard about you guys, but we had never been here. So they came down and they rented it and played this morning, and just growing. Like you think, oh, everyone must have heard of us, or we've been around for a while now, but you haven't been around for that long, and not that many people have heard of you. So just getting the word out, spreading the word, getting people to check out your social media and just see what's going on, and kind of growing it from nothing to hopefully something has been a big pride for me, for sure.
And you have, and it's why I have you here. You know, you've stood out in Canada, obviously West Coast, and you know, you've had a good number of people come into your doors, and it's really nice to see the expansion and growth of Topspin Pickleball. So,
Yeah.
how did you transition from like normal life to pickleball life in this like kind of short amount of time? What are some of the things that you did to make that happen?
Well, it was good because I don't come from like a pickleball background per se. It was really good to like meet a lot of the high level players that played out of our club to begin with, because they appreciated the facility and what we offer. And then going to a lot of these tournaments last summer and hanging out in the pickleball community and seeing how tournaments are run and meet other people and kind of just immerse yourself in the pickleball community in that sense. And then it was like, okay, not coming from a pickleball background, there's like so many things you don't know, like just even how a tournament is run. And then you actually go to these tournaments and hang out with these people. And like we talked about earlier, people waiting for hours to play their game. You get a lot of time to kind of like hang out and get to meet people and get their perspective and hear what their feedback is. And I think that was really important for sure for us in that sense.
Good. How can people play with you? Do you get on the court with your members, and do they play with you?
Yeah. So I hopped on the court this morning for a little bit and played. Try to play as much as I can. Like I was telling you earlier, I go to the club sometimes because I think, oh, I need to go there and do a bunch of work. And then a group comes in and then I end up playing with them and I don't do any work. So try to balance it in that sense. But we're at the club quite a bit and try to play as much as we can. And yeah, it's just kind of trying to find that balance, I guess, between getting bogged down with doing work and getting out to play as much as we can. So.
And is your family fully supportive? Your wife, your kids, are they with you at the club? How's that all working out?
Yeah. So my wife works nearby, so she'll come over for lunch a lot and have her lunch there while we're hanging out and I'm trying to do something. And then my kids are in the kids club typically on Fridays that we run. And then as a family, the four of us will go out and play as well. So awesome. We'll go out and just mix it up. I actually had a good story. So it was a couple of weeks ago, I had a great grandmother come out for ladies' night. And then she's like, when's ladies' night next? And I said, next Tuesday. She's like, oh, I can't wait that long. So she rented the court the next night. And then she brought out her grandchildren, or who I thought were her grandchildren. And it turned out they were her great-grandchildren. So they were playing, four of them were playing, her and her husband, the two great-grandchildren. And then they're splitting up the teams and playing. And I was like, oh, that's great. You can bring your grandchildren. She's like, no, great-grandchildren. I'm a great-grandmother. So I was like, oh, this is awesome.
It's a family affair. It's amazing. You're able to play with your wife and your kids, bring them out with you at the club, and it's beautiful. I love this sport so much, so much. Every time I have a guest on here, I'm blown away by how awesome they are. In closing up, how can people contact you, and how can they come and try out playing at your club?
100%. So you can check out our website, topspinpickleball.ca, or we're also on social media, Topspin Pickleball Club on Facebook. Same thing, Topspin Pickleball Club. And we have our email and our phone number on there. So give us a message or any way you how on any of those platforms, and we'll get back to you. And we'd love to have anyone out. If you're traveling in the area or if you live in the area and you haven't heard about us or been out yet, by all means, come on out.
Awesome. And I'm sure it'll be a great time. And I look forward to meeting you on the court as well, Brock. Hopefully I can make it out west and hit up your club.
Anytime. You're welcome. Yeah.
Awesome. It was amazing having you. Thank you so much for your time, Brock. It's great to have you on.
I really appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Awesome. So I will, I'll leave it at this. Next week, we have an incredible guest coming on as well. His name is Dr. William. He's going to be talking with us about gender, identity, expression, sexuality, and, you know, me being a pickleball athlete and someone who has a bit of experience in this area. You're going to want to hop on, especially if you have opinions on this, because we're going to address a lot of stuff, hot topics, culture war stuff. There's a lot going on. in the whole sporting arena, where things get heated very quickly and things can be discriminative and offensive, and who's right, who's wrong. It's crazy. So this is going to be one guest you're definitely going to want to come on and catch, and bring your questions, bring everything you can. We're going to throw at him and me, and we're going to make it interesting. So I'll see you guys next week. This show can be heard on the Spanglish Radio Network. Please check out spanglishworld.ca for all news and programming. Spanglish World, watch it, hear it, read it, download it, live it. Oh, did we lose the producer? Eduardo! Okay. Well, then I guess I might as well keep going.
Why not?
Any closing thoughts you might have for the audience about pickleball?
I just think it's great, and if you're not playing pickleball already, try to get in. Like you said, we're on the West Coast in BC, so if you're in our area, by all means, reach out to us or reach out to any local club you have and just ask what kind of intro programs they have. I think everyone has an intro program, and I feel like everyone's similar to us in the sense that they want to grow the sport and grow the game, and they see the fun in it, and just reach out to wherever you can and try to get involved.
Awesome. What are your 3 biggest tips for players to get better?
Practice, like we said before, play up to people that are better than you, but at the same time, also include those people that aren't as good as you and work on maybe a shot. Don't pick on the weak person in that sense, but work on something you want to work on, but it gives those players a chance to play up as well. So I think that inclusiveness is very important for the growing of the game. And everyone wants great competitive games, and the only way we're going to have great competitive games is if we all share the court in that sense.
I find that to be very important, to allow some of the newer players to come in and play with you. Jump in on open play sometimes once in a while. I played at an elite level, and to give someone an opportunity to experience what it's like to play at that level, it's an honor for me, because when I was first starting, being able to play with players who, again, they would toy with me. It was nothing for them. But for them to take their time and to play with me, it's not helping their game at all. But it helps mine tremendously. To see what it looks like, the composure, that was one of the biggest things that I saw from pros. I'd watch pros or elite level players, how composed they were. They weren't freaking out and jolting at things, and they had great anticipation. They were always calm. They had the loose grip, and everything was kind of like a dance, and it wasn't like a jolty circus, right? So I really appreciate that about the high level players. Cool. All right. And I guess, what else? I'm kind of wondering where our producer went and how long we're going to keep going on this episode. Let's just keep going. We'll just talk for days.
Let's talk about it for sure. Why
not? So you said you have Selkirk at your club. Yeah. Do you play with a Selkirk paddle?
Right now I'm playing with an Alpha paddle, actually. One of Charles's
Charles
Alpha
would be
paddles.
happy.
Yeah. So I'm playing with that right now, but I was talking to Brett, and we're going to get some poach stuff in. So I'd like to try the poach as well. And coming from someone that's unfamiliar, it's exactly what I'd like right there. Coming from someone that was unfamiliar, when I first started, we just bought a 4-pack from Costco. So we were using just basic paddles, and I kind of thought all paddles were the same. But then when you start getting into it and you play with all these different paddles, you realize the different pop, the different comfort they have, the different spin you get off them. So it's been a big growing curve in that sense, where it's sometimes you get what you pay for a little bit more. If you buy a nice paddle, it is well worth it a lot of the time.
Oh, 100%. I was sponsored by a company, and I won't mention it, but I played with their paddles from very early on. And then I tried paddles once I left that company, because our belief systems weren't aligning. I tried the Carbon 1X. I loved it. It was a game changer. It changed my whole game. I also tried Filth, Bread and Butter's paddle Filth. I tried some Selkirk. I tried Vatic Pro, and the carbon that they're coming out with, the technology that they're putting into paddles now is incredible, which has changed the game. Because when I first started, they were still just getting into carbon, but it was mainly graphite and fiberglass, which doesn't really grip the ball, doesn't spin it as much. So now that you can really grip that ball, you can hit that ball harder with that topspin, so it goes down. So now the game's getting faster and faster. It's not all about the drop shot and the dink and the soft game. There is a higher element to the banger club, as long as you're good at it, right? What are some of your favorite pieces of equipment on the court?
Well, just going back to what you just said there before, is that I think the game's at a really high level. And when the PPA was out in Seattle, we went down and watched there and took in the tournament for the weekend, and it was awesome to see. But having this new generation grow up, these kids that are playing from like an early age, if you're in your teens or early 20s and you're growing up in the game now, I'm really excited for what the pro game is going to be like in like 10 to 15 years and how fast it's going to be with the new technology and the players just with like way more background. Like a lot of players have tennis or like racket backgrounds now, and they hopped into pickleball, and then going forward, like kids that are just dedicated to pickleball and seeing how high of a level it's going to actually get to, which I think will be really cool. And if it's an Olympic sport one day, maybe, or like scholarships in schools and stuff like that, like I think it's really exciting. Yeah, it's really exciting. I think it's going to get really good for sure.
Yeah. Did you see Megan Fudge's daughter just got a gold in an APP tournament? She's 8 years old.
Yes, I know. That's awesome. Like
8 years old, youngest athlete to win a gold medal at an APP tournament. So huge shout out to Ryler and Megan's daughter. I forget her name. Please excuse me, but we see you, and that's amazing. We're going to be watching your journey.
Yeah, it's always great seeing like kids at the club, or even those just like kids on Instagram videos or on social media, right? And they're like, this kid's 8 years old or 10 years old, and you're like, man, he's so good already. And like, just what the level that kid's going to be at when they're 20 or 25, and it's exciting in that sense and how the game will grow.
I started playing at age 33, and I'm about to turn 36. And all I can say is I so wish I started sooner. I think we all say that. I think every one of us has said that. But imagine if I've been
pretty common saying, yes. Where has this been all my life? 100%.
Yeah. Well, that's something that I feel really good about, is helping this sport grow into, the limelight, so that it becomes something that you have the opportunity to play as a young kid, and it be something worth getting into. Because I don't think it was as worth getting into 5 years ago, 10 years ago. It was kind of, the people who did try it at school with the wooden paddles 10 years ago, they didn't even remember it. It was just like, I don't even know what this is. But now that it's like, oh yeah, I tried this when I was a kid. Now it's becoming something worth getting into.
Yeah. We have a lot of team building events, in the sense that a lot of like we had a couple baseball teams in recently, and kids hockey teams and stuff like that. So they'll come in for team building events at the club. And a lot of them have played in school. So I always ask, like, oh, have you guys ever played pickleball before? And then sometimes they'll say they played with their parents, or that they have played in school now. So that's really fun and exciting to see it growing in the schools as well, in phys ed class or whatever like that, right? So
yeah. What would you like to see in the future of pickleball? What are some things that you'd love to experience 5-10 years down the road?
What would I like to experience in pickleball? I think just keep seeing it grow at such a high level. You watch some of the games in our club, and they're high level games, but until like the Steve Deacons and those guys roll in and they're playing at like the top level, and then you watch them, and it's just like a whole different ball game. The speed, the accuracy, the being able not to overreact under pressure, be able to still like direct the shot exactly where you want to go. It's just exciting to see how high it can go. And then as these generations grow up, and if they're going to be better than the pros that we have now, maybe, or like growing up in that sense, then it's like the opportunities are really endless. Like it could be really good growing up. I always remember as a kid going to hockey games specifically, and you watch them on TV, and it just never does it any justice until you actually go to the hockey arena and see how big they are and how fast they are. It's like a whole different thing. And I think getting to experience pickleball in person is kind of similar in that sense. Is like you watch it on TV or you're familiar with the game and you think it's fast, but until you actually go see an event live and realize how fast it is, you're like something else.
Yeah, I got to see at last Canadian Nationals, which I wasn't actually playing in the tournament, but I was there to speak to the top players in Saskatchewan and Regina about the mentality and the mindset, psychology behind being on the court. So I did go and I watched, and I got to see Steve Deacon, and I think he was playing with Charles Neufeld, if I'm not mistaken. And I think it was the final match as well. Steve Deacon goes down. He's on the ground and he hits the ball from on the ground. I'm like front row watching this, like, oh my God. Everyone thinks he's out there slamming and he's hitting the ball. He's standing up. He gets up, and he puts the ball away. It was just like,
yeah. That was insane. We had a bunch of people watching at the club, and we had Nationals on because we had a couple guys from the club playing in Nationals as well as Steve and Charles. And yeah, when we watched that, everyone's just like, oh my God, like what just happened? This is crazy. Did he hit that? Like, yeah, he hit that. All right. So.
Oh my God. It was so exciting. So exciting. Yeah. Well, we're at the top of the hour, 6 o'clock. So Brock, if you don't mind, just say your final thoughts, and then you can hit that leave button, but final thoughts for everybody.
Thank you very much for having me on the show. Hashtag grow the game, keep growing pickleball, make it inclusive, get everyone involved, and check out Topspin Pickleball Club for sure. We'd love to have you in.
Heck yeah. Thank you so much,
Thank
Brock.
you very much. We'll talk to you later.
Awesome. Sounds good. And again, this show can be heard on the Spanglish Radio Network. Please check out spanglishworld.ca for all news and programming. Spanglish World. Watch it, hear it, read it, download it, live it. Bye for now.